cheap in theory. Like from a RAM perspective, you probably have like 16 gigabytes of RAMs in your laptop today, compared to like a little bit of RAM that you get for users on the blockchain, like 6 kilobytes or so. So traditionally, RAM was used as a temporary storage to keep track of state of your machine. Like for instance, in your laptop, that's where like the programs load when you first launch it or something. But then most recently, in the few years back, a lot of companies started using RAM as a persistent data store. I know for a fact that Amazon and Facebook have been doing this for a while. And the reason is because it's fast reads and write, and it's consistent. And this will allow for a better and faster user experience, especially if you have thousands or millions of transactions. So that's how the EOS actually uses RAM to some extent. You need to keep track of state, but at the same time you can use it to keep track of user account information and to your smart contracts and everything. And as far as I know, the issues with RAM are being resolved right now, or at least there are some proposals related to, actually from like Block One people, about using a banker algorithm for the trading of the marketplace of the RAM, which will allow it to have less volatile. I don't have much information into that. And side chains, which will also, is something, a proposal that is being put into place as a way to get rid of the RAM issues. Again, both of those are yet to be seen. Do we still have one more slide? Oh. So basically, that's like all I had to talk about. But I would like to have like actual questions and answers to dig deep into any of those points that I just described today. Yeah.
So I'm in the seat, so thank you so much for all this. It's great. You're obviously taking it from a developer standpoint, as you should. From a marketer standpoint,
Hello, everyone. So I work with a couple of companies, some of which want to promote and build a project of Ethereum, some of which want to do it with EOS. A common concept, obviously, last year into this year are ICOs, TGEs, and now everyone wants to talk about airdrops. So pros and cons of doing airdrops on Ether versus EOS, because I have very quickly, I have a client that actually wants to launch a project where you would need a couple 100 million wallets. So I can already tell you're...
Yeah, that's a good question. I realized that was a missing slide up there, just specifically about airdrops and how that difference is between Ethereum and EOS. So one of the things that is kind of a paradigm in most of the EOS developers is the fact that you can actually airdrop tokens to EOS token holders on the Genesis block or on the latest block in order for a marketing perspective to raise awareness about your project and to get users early on, the fact that there's so many EOS users. And from an investor perspective, this is like the old way of actually making dividends on your EOS investment by getting all the airdrops that ever existed. It's a really cool concept, and the fact that from a legal perspective, as long as you do an airdrop equivalently to everyone else, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I've heard, it doesn't impact your token itself, and it actually plays a really good role in marketing it. We plan to do an EOS airdrop. We're still finalizing the terms of it, but the main problem is with EOS airdrop is also impacted with last week's news with RAM. So for instance, in order to do an airdrop, you need to allocate a big amount of RAM and send your tokens to all the token holders. And you lost this. Unless the person actually says, okay, I want to take this token, and then the RAM kind of actually becomes, you get back the RAM. The problem is not all the people will be able to do this, so we're trying to build like kind of an algorithm to figure out all the EOS. What's up? Wait, let me.
Oh, yeah, I was waiting.
Okay. So in order to build to figure out who is active on the blockchain and send them their token and give them access to it. so that we can get their RAM back and actually not lose any money in the process. It's a cool concept. There's a lot of documentation around how to do an airdrop instead of actually doing a private sale in order to, from a legal perspective, you don't have to worry about SEC, you don't have to worry about anything. And at the same time, the fact that you're doing a airdrop will get your token to the exchanges who might actually decide to list you. You start with a zero price, and then people can start actually paying for your token. You hold a big chunk of tokens in your pool, and then you can sell them in order to power your DApp. I'm not sure how that concept is going to work out 100% because you might not be able to get enough money, because the more you sell, the lower the price of the token becomes, and you can use it for like a little bit of time, but in my opinion, you need to be able to raise either an equity round or an actual a private sale for another chunk of tokens in order to be able to fully power your application. On the other hand, in Ethereum, you can just do an airdrop regularly, I guess, to any addresses. You can determine which addresses to do so, but there's less analysis on like which addresses. You need to do an analysis to figure out where to give your tokens. You can give your tokens to all addresses, but not all addresses are legit. Not all addresses are basically usable. You can figure out, like, give it to Ethereum addresses. I don't know how much that will help you from a marketing perspective. As compared to like EOS, which is actually new, and people will start talking about it when you do an airdrop. And from a legal perspective, also, it follows the same stuff as doing it on EOS.
Okay, so you mentioned a few slides before then that there are volatilities in RAM price at the moment.